Let's talk about CST, circular strength training.
CST. Oh, everything started with this concept of CST. It was like a very new approach back then in like the 90s, even 80s. Uh, it was something that like a movement culture wasn't happening back then. It was more like everybody that engaged in fitness or sports were like fitness was more like statics, like bodybuilding, regular strength and conditioning, or people involved with sports. So there was a huge gap in physical capacities. Many physical capacities were not being worked for many people, like mobility. It was a discipline that nobody talked about back then. Now it's very popular. Everybody talks about mobility.
Yeah.
And Scott was already talking about that, the importance to regain full control of your body before you implement tools, to have the range of motion because it connects to your brain. The same areas of your brain that control movement, control speaking, your learning capabilities to learn new languages, for example. Okay, so doing movements is like controlling your tongue, for example. So if you improve your movement capability, you improve your mind capability. So it's a two-way process. Okay, people think that training is like something only for the body, but it ain't. Who controls the body is the mind.
Yeah.
So
It's all one, right? It's all one, and
yes,
we don't think about the quality of the movement, and our moving of our body is actually firing up the brain. But we have a brain to move,
exactly.
and so if we don't move, we don't use our brain.
Moving ideas as well.
Yeah, and when we move, like things happen in the brain and ideas, our neocortex, because it gets fed up from the bottom up, our brain.
Yes, and
So,
getting used to discomfort as well. Getting better to deal with discomfort
stress
each time more. Deal with stress. Because stress is not only physical, but also mental. Many people suffer from disease because they have like a chronic stress situation. And they can even understand where this stress coming from. Bills to pay, everything stress your mind, and you start to lose your control. Okay? Your health, your cortisol level is high, your inflammation is high. And one of the best ways to go out from this stress loop is exercise. Not only exercise in extreme ways, but like we are talking about, like a wave of recovery with only mobility, okay? Because it's biochemistry as well.
Right.
The markers, the biochemical markers for stress, like cortisol, adrenaline, people like that pursue too much statics.
Aesthetics, yeah.
Yeah, aesthetics. They are constantly inflamed because they're stressing their body so much. They can recover. At some point, they will break.
People try to lose weight. They try to get in better shape, but they start gaining weight because they're too stressed. Their body's too stressed out.
Perfect. The cortisol. So they can't lose weight because they think more is better, but it ain't. Only better is better. You must learn this concept. You need to have intuition, develop your intuition to feel your own body, because programs are good. You need to have some program to follow, to try to establish a discipline, but you must to evaluate yourself every day. And we learned that through CST. It was one of the main principles. And what is the intuitive training? It's not about like, oh, what I'm gonna do today? I'm feeling like I need to do pecs, and then the next morning I need to do biceps. It's not about that. It's learning how to retrieve information from your body, and we use like the TED compass. This is the intuitive training. It's like a tripod or a pyramid.
A triangle.
A triangle, yes. When you have the technique, the discomfort, and the effort. So when you can balance all those in a certain way, you find your flow. You find your
flow
ability
state, right?
to be present, to understand what is good for you now. So this is very important. When you practice this, you bring numbers to something that is subjective. Your own perception of rated effort and technique and discomfort. So you start to interpret information with numbers. You can give numbers to your perception. And then you create, like, establish a pathway for you to develop yourself. You might find, I have this plan for the program, but it might be not so good because I didn't sleep. I have a long flight. I have this, I have that. I have an argument with my wife or something like that.
Yeah.
You might find that today is not day to do a conditioning, but to do a mobility, to release yourself, right? You try to do a strong training on the night before. You have some injury or something like that. Why are you going to push yourself again? So you need to have this balance.
And training like tack fit and training this way gives you that intuitiveness of what you need,
Exactly.
right? And that's, I feel like that's the, instead of talking about all these words and all these different things, like it just gives you the intuitiveness to know what you need to do because of learning these concepts, right?
Yeah, at first it's very complex. It looks complex.
It looks complex.